Hello, welcome to the next episode of the Qualiverse. I'm Jim Maltese, and today we're talking about discipline. So, why is being disciplined so difficult? I mean, the results of discipline are amazing. It feels great after you apply discipline. You feel like you've accomplished something. It literally makes you a better person. So, why are our brains wired to make it hard? And I'm sure, evolutionarily speaking, there's some reason to it, right? I mean, maybe lounging, it certainly allows you to conserve more calories and stay alive longer when food is scarce and when you need to get up and get active. Adrenaline will get us going when it's absolutely required. But, I guess being at that heightened state of activity is just not sustainable for too long. And of course, binge watching Real Housewives of New Jersey is just so dang appealing. But the draw to being undisciplined is always present and it's very real. And another challenge is that motivation to be disciplined doesn't last long enough to realize the long term benefits, right? We see that with dieting and fitness all the time. Gyms by me are packed on January 2nd every year with the New Year, New Me crowd. And then by February 1st, it's crickets. It's right back to normal. It's very similar with quality assurance as well. After a class or a seminar, folks are amped to start using their checklists and buying test equipment and auditing their systems for a few weeks. But soon after the seminar, someone starts to skip a checklist here and there, and then nothing really catastrophic happens. So they skip a few more, and a few minor issues might pop up, but they're quickly covered up to protect people's reputations. But after several weeks, quality assurance practices are just completely thrown out the window. It is so easy to give up on something before it becomes a habit, especially if it's challenging. If quality doesn't get internalized by the team, it's not adopted into the culture, it will always feel like something extra to do rather than just part of the process. On average, it takes people 66 days to form a new habit. That's like a little over 2 months of grinding on something with discipline before it becomes common practice. And if leadership or the team isn't completely bought in on the quality stuff, 2 months of grumbling can seem like an eternity. But if they're on board the quality train and it becomes part of the culture, incredible benefits can be realized. And so, for example, I was involved with a global rollout for a large financial institution, and they hired my company to just perform third party testing and verification. So we were hired to just kind of bring that quality management system into the process and do the checks and balances there. And so when I tell you we got this honed like a Rolex, right? Everything was working, it was cranking. The installers went from taking 2 weeks to install a room and then having like 2 months of just nonstop warranty calls and punch list items. And it took 3 months to close out a very simple, well, I mean, it was middle of the road video conference system with all the bells and whistles. So 3 months. When after we introduced the quality management system, we got that thing. We were able to shut down a room on Friday afternoon. They were able to install it over the weekend. We would do the commissioning checklist on Sunday afternoon, and Monday morning we would hit the ground running. The system was complete. It was delivered on time. It was incredible. The clients got their systems. They were complete systems. No more warranty calls. No more taking the room down. The integrators got paid faster, right? Instead of having to wait 2-3 months for all those warranty issues to get addressed, they got paid after a weekend. It was fantastic. Everyone was happy while there was a third party, while someone was being responsible for holding everyone accountable for the quality assurance stuff. But because when something works that well, people kind of start to take it for granted, and so the client wanted to see if they could get all the benefits without having a third party there, without someone holding people's feet to the fire. And so what happened? We weren't invited back for the next few projects, and after 2 months, everything was thrown out the window. It went right back to where it was. When no one's looking, it's easy to skip out on the discipline. Um, yeah, it was a shame. It was a shame, and everyone agreed that it was the best thing for them. The clients were happy that the integrator said it made them a better integrator. But when no one was looking, they still decided to do away with it. I don't know why. Um, yeah, it's just easy when no one's looking, when no one's holding you accountable to throw quality and discipline out the window. And that's why people go public with their goals, right? That's why people work out with friends. So you have that team mentality to hold you accountable for your discipline, to hold you accountable to your goals. And that's where excuse me, not AV 9000, but that's where ISO 9000 gets its power, because now not only is your team expected to do the quality assurance, but every year there's the ISO registrar that comes in and audits your entire company to make sure that you're walking the talk. And the funny thing is, even with all those benefits, there are some people that think things are just easier when you don't approach AV with discipline. They think if they just wing it or rely on memory and experience, that somehow it will be finished quicker. And that's not true. Things get way more difficult without disciplined quality assurance. And it's true that, they might end early for one day. The next several days are going to be that much more difficult trying to close everything out that was missed on that short day. So it's similar to saying that installations are easier when you can leave the displays on the ground instead of mounting them on the wall. So technically, that's true, I guess, but the clients expect them to be on the wall. And so someone at some point in time is going to need to mount them. Neglecting disciplined quality assurance is the same thing. The client expects a completed system that functions according to the promised performance specifications. So do you want to deliver it as efficiently as possible, or play a long game of catch me if you can AV with endless punch lists? And that's exactly what happened to that integrator, right? Once we stopped acting as that third party, making sure the quality assurance was being paid attention to, they went from completing systems over a weekend to installations going right back to how it was before that AV 9000, before the quality assurance, before the discipline was enacted. And so installations went back to 2 weeks, and the warranty calls came back, and the never-ending punch list came back, and their profits dropped. Everything went right back to where it was. And the weird thing is, I don't think that doing it that way necessarily means that that they were working any easier, or that they were less focused. When you do projects with discipline, if anything, you're more relaxed. You don't have to worry about things. It's all kind of right there in front of you, and you start to have a better time. And in fact, so another integrator on the same project actually really internalized the system. They took advantage of the quality assurance, and they just got it. And so, there were some integrators, when we came in to audit them, they would kind of get a little nervous, and not because we were mean, just because they knew that there were things we were going to catch, and they knew they weren't quite ready, but because of political reasons or scheduling reasons, they had to have us in to commission the system. But the people who got it, they understood what we were going for. They had all the checklists beforehand, so they knew exactly what we were going to be doing. They had the performance specifications that we had. It was all part of the project, so they had all the answers. And so they knew if we were going to find anything. They knew if we weren't going to find anything. And once we all started applying this quality assurance stuff with discipline, we were all on the same page. We all knew what to do. The client is expecting this. We're just making sure that they're getting it, essentially. And so we're all on the page. And it just got easy. We came in, they had everything prepared for us. The audit took no time. The system was in great shape. It was fantastic. We would just go and kind of hang out and really have a good time together. It was fantastic. There was so much less stress. Yeah, so it's not easier. It's not easier when you forego the discipline, when you forego the quality. When you attack projects with quality, it's less frantic. There's less after hours work. There's less fire drills. There's less stress. It's just so much better. And the other thing I want to bring up, is these checklists don't have to be completed from soup to nuts every single time. I'm not trying to say that they replace your experience or your expertise. They're simply meant to bring things top of mind and document the tests that are completed. That's it. It's just it's like setting a reminder in your phone to did I remember to do that? So it's not really a how-to. It's a did I remember to, and then also I can also check off the steps that I did type of thing. So it's really just a tool. It's like a reminder tool. So as an example, if there's a system update that has nothing to do with video or control, just put not applicable, NA, for the entire sections, right? We didn't touch that. We're not dealing with that section now. We're just dealing with this audio bit. So if you're swapping out a wireless microphone and not touching the video or control systems at all, we got to do the audio systems, right? We certainly have to do signal to noise and THD, make sure there's no distortion on the microphone. We also need to do the wireless microphone section to make sure reception is there, make sure the frequencies are set right. All that has to be done. But there's no reason to check the power outlets again. There's no reason to do that button by button control system test because we didn't touch it. That's already been tested. So those parts of the checklist can totally be skipped. We can just focus on those sections of the checklist that apply to what we're doing at the project at that time. The checklist, the discipline is not meant to be extra work. They are just meant to make things go quicker and easier and be complete and apply that consistency. That's it. And I should also say that designers and installers aren't the only ones that need to approach AV with discipline. The technology owners do as well. In fact, discipline quality assurance has to start with them. Owners must demand that any AV service provider has a documented quality management process. They must place value on quality during their vendor selection process and stick to selecting the best value proposition rather than simply the least expensive. There's a big difference there, right? I mean, if you're the least expensive and you're delivering a terrible system versus someone who might be a little bit more but has their quality stuff in mind, who approach AV with discipline, they're going to be a better value. So they must also insist on inspecting project closeout documentation to assure that the vendors are actually walking their quality talk. They must make difficult and specific decisions when it comes to scopes of work and avoid scope creep and poorly defined designs. Accurate, complete, and meaningful user requirements drive the entire AV industry, and that comes from the top of the AV food chain. That's the client, that's the owner. Those are the users. And I had a client once that was so bought into the entire process. They were totally sold. They were so excited to get us on board. They were excited to streamline the process, stop with all the fire drills and all the headaches, and start to really get that consistent AV experience. And so the first step, I insisted that he, on a global scale, needs to insist that all his vendors globally, everywhere, need to perform the same quality assurance process, that the AV9000 process, and they needed to do so with discipline. The problem was that many of his vendors in different regions has these loose relationships with the managers in those areas, and he and his counterparts were nervous that this discipline application, this insistent on quality assurance, would be too disruptive and sour their relationships. I should also say that these same regions had terrible performing AV systems. The experiences were terrible. They were constantly complaining about them. And that's why they brought us in. That's why they brought in this quality assurance stuff, this AV9000 stuff. But they were just too scared. We were poised to help the clients, the users. We were poised to help the vendors improve how they deliver AV. We were going to increase their profits, make projects go quicker with less resources, less warranty calls, but they declined. And the status quo was just too comfortable. And so discipline was too scary. All stakeholders in the entire project are responsible for quality and discipline, especially the owners. Especially the owners, it has to start with them. And that's the thing, man. In theory, this whole process should be easy. Technology owners tell the designers what they want. Designers tell installers how to build something that will meet those needs. Installers deploy systems that satisfy all the requirements for the users. It's a very straightforward process, right? But, granted, there are a ton of variables, but it should be straightforward. And people think that discipline makes things harder when in fact it makes it so much easier, especially with complex deployments. I don't know how you would do it any other way besides attacking it with discipline. When AV projects are approached with a well-documented quality management system applied with discipline, things get done right the first time. The first time, it is always easier to do things right the first time. It does take discipline, but it feels good. The users are happy. It makes the industry better. And yes, although it may be counterintuitive, once it becomes a habit after those 66 days, once it becomes a habit, discipline makes AV much easier. Jocko Willink said it best: discipline equals freedom. So that does it for this episode of the Qualiverse. I hope you enjoyed your talk with me, and I will see you on the next time. Take care and have an AV day.